All right, we're going live and welcome to Theo Michael Talks, and I'm Michael Acevedo. And today it's my pleasure to go ahead and interview and talk with a friend of mine from high school who is a author. He just wrote his first book, I Am Omega, and that's on the screen right below us. You can find that link, and it'll tell you how you can get the book. Uh, Danny, do you like to be called Dan or Daniel? How do you want to be addressed?
Keep it at Dan. We're all friends
Dan.
here. If
So
I'm called Daniel, I'm expected to get arrested or something.
So Dan, I've known Dan since high school, and we were both in the Repco and in the Council for Unity, and so we got to do a little stage work there. And he has continued as an artist for DC Comics, uh, cosplayer, and entrepreneur. He's made a couple of websites with the cosplay. I think you started with Iron Man or Captain America. Which one was that one?
Well, I didn't start any websites with it, but what I did do is that we started working with a series of charities doing Captain America. I did run a group called Build a Better Captain America on Facebook to help make the costumes a lot more photo accurate. Because at the time, unlike now where it's a dime a dozen, that's because a lot of the work we did on Build a Better Captain America, where we contacted companies and we gave them fabrics and we got them up to snuff, as you could say. Because back then we had to kind of cobble together what we could find to make it look more film accurate. But the importance to me was that when we were doing work with charities, children are very smart, and you want to make sure that they're getting they're not dispelling the illusion of those characters. So we made the costumes look as film accurate as we possibly could and be the characters as well. It wasn't just cosplay; it was character acting, and it worked. It did really well. We've been doing it for 5 years.
I've been very impressed. I follow everything that you do. I was very impressed with you did a promo where you had Captain America throwing the shield off.
Yeah.
It looked like a wooded scenery. I don't know where you did that at.
Yeah, it was one of those things where we were doing a training video for everybody about the build concept and how you can take it to the next level. And I had learned a very easy trick to make the shield look like it was being thrown. And when I realized it, I was like, everything should be this easy. People need to have. I never believed in keeping the secret secret. It's like one of those things where if you could get it to that next level, why wouldn't you help your fellow person to get that level if it makes them feel good or if it's for a charity or something, So a lot of fun.
So we're here to talk about the I Am Omega book.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you guys had did some kind of like some dress rehearsals, some videos, and some things leading up to it.
Yeah.
Tell me where did you get this concept for the I Am Omega?
Hostility towards my workplace. So to break it down,
I don't like work. I am going to bring about the apocalypse. Okay,
yeah, pretty much. It's everything's supposed to end. Excuse me. So back in 2018, I knew that my job at the time was going to be finished, and I had given a lot of energy towards it. I was working, and I'd rather leave the company out, of course, but it was one of those things where I had worked for them, gave them 4 years, was expected to be promoted to only find out that I cost too much. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm keep on giving to companies that don't appreciate what, I've been doing. I grow businesses to $1 million businesses, and I was getting so fed up. And after that job was over, I found myself struggling. I was going through a hard time. And I thought about it. I said, well, this would make for a good story, but not in the sense of just pedestrian needs of, everybody has bad jobs. But it's like one of those things where you find yourself as a character. What would you do if you were more powerful? What would you do if you were something beyond? And whilst I'm not a religious fellow, I like the imagery that angels project, that they're supposed to be messengers of hope. What if one of these messengers of hope had just had enough? What if they just were done? How would they go about it? What would they do? And so this concept shows an angel who, let's put it this way, he's been forced to do a job he doesn't want to do. And he does it reluctantly at first with all the hope and joy all the other angels have, do as well. And he finds that unlike the other angels, he doesn't like what he's doing. He continues to do it, and all he sees is the horrors of humanity instead of seeing the brightness of it. And when he finally does see the brightness of it, it's taken from him. And he's just done. And the story doesn't really focus on him. It focuses more on the humans around him who are picking up the trails of all of a sudden that there's something among us that is beyond. and they have to deal with it.
Huh.
So it started, and to answer your prefix before that, it started as a concept for a TV show. So we shot a bunch of video components. I created costumes because we were originally pitching Netflix. We had a contact there, and due to the pandemic, a lot of that got shut down. So I'm sitting here with all this great stuff, all these great costumes, all these great things, and I couldn't do anything with it. So I contacted a dear friend of mine, Thomas Casparo, and we sat down and I said, look, I have the script, I have the context, I have the skeleton, I have all the characters laid out. I need someone to help me fill out the blanks. So we sat down and we planned it all out and we created it. And here we are with a book. And now we have a finished product.
Nice.
So there you go.
So I know that you've done a lot with the acting and things of that nature. Where did you get this creative spark from?
I think it's because I've just been generally a pain in the ass and I can't seem to sit still. I had spent a lot of time looking for ways to express myself. People always know me as the showman sort of personality, and nobody believes me when I go home. I'm a very quiet person. Everybody needs their outlet, and I found that acting was the only way that I could do it. And I had, after I left high school, when we had done Repco, which were some amazing times doing repertory theater. I actually went off Broadway for a little while and did a couple of shows where I was, additional characters. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Dan Green. Dan Green is the voice of Yu-Gi-Oh! And he did a number of cartoons. So I ended up doing a lot of the background voices for Fox Kids, where, if they needed, and oddly enough, they needed an Asian guy. I'd be, first I took Anastanga, and I did all these weird, characters in the background. But I found myself just enjoying the outlet, but it doesn't pay much. So you had to kind of, get a day job and do what you could. But I never stopped. The spark never went away. And the only reason why this concept came to pass is because so many people believed in it. I would tell people about the concept and they would just suddenly go, I've never heard that before. They've always heard about Michael. They've always heard about Gabriel. They've always heard about Lucifer. It was a great show, Lucifer. But it keeps on popping up, the same characters over and over again. There's more to the lore. There's more to these stories that can be told, and we explore them in I Am Omega.
Nice. So what kind of research did you do?
Anything and everything. A dear friend of mine, Andrew Gordon, he's a minister. He actually is out in Arizona. And I wanted to understand the religious context so I could respect the religion whilst telling the story and merge them together. Because I don't believe in making this a religion-heavy story, even though it's mired in the concept. We wanted it to be very separate. We wanted it to be where, okay, there's heaven, there's hell, deal with it. But what are their functions? And we made sure that we made it very functionary. I don't want to express too much about that because it actually ruins portions of the book. But one of the cool things is that, for example, on the cover, of this book, you see Omega holding these blades that look like an Omega symbol. But what is revealed in the book, which I don't mind saying this, is that it's a portion of the angel's grace. When you have an angel who has a halo, you think of that being their grace and all their power. Well, if they were going to fight, wouldn't they focus all that power into a weapon? So there's a line in the book that I sit there and I giggled to myself because I thought it was really well written. And then when I passed it to Thomas, he was just going, yeah, that's the line. That's the line right there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I read that part of it and I was like, oh, that is sweet. I don't think anyone's ever done that before.
Yeah. Using your halo as an extension of your power and becoming deathly powerful with it. And once there are more characters who emerge, which again, I don't want to ruin, you'll find that it's done in unique ways. And we really are absolutely about the spoken word and really making this work because we consulted a lot of people, not just ministers, but I consulted storytellers. I consulted people who have worked on books. In fact, people who are writing the reviews. We have a guy named Tom Sullivan who wrote a book called Timberwolf, and he's reviewing the book right now because we wanted to get the sense of, how do you concoct a good story? And it's just all about knowing people, knowing circumstances. Laura Agunaga, who is Amanda Crawford, she's the actress on the back of the book. She's actually the main character. And somebody asked me, they said, well, why'd you make her Latin? And I go, I didn't. The actress was good enough just by being a good actress that it didn't matter. and we concocted the elements of her being Latin around it. That's the problem these days. Everyone wants to make a statement. We just want to tell a good story, and that deals with different cultures, different nationalities, and that's going to come in there. And it has to happen organically. It doesn't have to be forced, or it has to make a statement.
So we got a viewer, Crandall Ma, who says hi on there. And again, if any of you have any questions for Dan Gottlieb, who's doing the I Am Omega, just put them up on there. If I see them, I can get to them. Again, one thing that surprised me is that when we were in high school, I know I was pretty, I wasn't shy, but I was kind of shy. But I never showed anyone my artwork. I didn't know that you were drawing comic books even in high school.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about that.
I always want to set the record straight. I was spending, so what I did was when I was in high school, I was having, again, that attention problem where I was just constantly all over the place and I couldn't focus my creative energy. So when they said that I could take an internship, they said that there were no more internships at DC Comics. Well, I disagree. And that's why people seem to think that opportunity comes when they hand it to you. No, opportunity comes when you create it. So when I found out who I had talked to, I reached out and I made sure I said, look, I want this internship and you're going to give it to me. And they looked at me like, that's not how it works. I said, make it work, because I need this as a career option and I want to be able to do it. And I'll only get the training I need if you allow me this moment. And they heard my statement, they put that forward, and they said, you know what, give them an internship. And something that makes people very jelly is that when I went to DC Comics, I saw Mike Mignola walking down the hall. Now, those of you who don't know who Mike Mignola is, I know you do, but he's the creator of Hellboy and many, many amazing books that he's done. I saw him walking down the hall. I knew by taking a look at him, knew his personality, and I knew that if I approached him like a fanboy, he would be turned off. So right away, I walked up to him and said, Mike, I'm sorry to bother you. I love your art of spotting blacks. And I wondered, what was your reference? Like, what did you pull from? Did you pull from Frazetta? Did you, where do you get the feeling from? Because I'd love to know more about it. He goes, that's a really good question. I will meet you next week and we'll sit down for an hour and I'll show you how to do it.
Sweet.
And that's how you do it. People don't realize that a lot of the time when it comes down to meeting people that you like, ask them the right questions. And most of the time they always want to talk about their craft. And I was fortunate enough to catch it, because after that, I caught many, many other artists that continued to inspire me and made me a better artist. And actually, you had mentioned to me before that prior to us getting on, that my art style changed. Well, it had to. I'm working on a secret project, which I can't say anything about. It's one of the reasons why I've been miserable for the last couple months. Because when you do design work for Disney, you can't talk about anything. And I just have to kind of sit here and hope for the best. So my art style changed accordingly to do something in regards to a style guide.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Nice. Was Captain America the first cosplay or photo reel or acting that you did with the because you really take it to the next level. It's not just cosplay. There's trick-or-treating, there's cosplay, and then you took it like an acting level. You embodied that whole Captain America thing. Was that your first thing?
No, actually, very, very early on, when I was in the Boy Scouts, I actually dressed up as Jason Voorhees, and I did a pretty decent job of it with what I had on hand at that time. Because unfortunately, revealing our age, that was the '80s. It was like '83. It was rough. So getting costumes back then was incredibly tough. And then the next costume I had actually kind of started with, I did a Thor costume, which my dad said I looked like a gay pirate. So I guess I failed. And then Captain America happened because a mutual friend of ours, Eric Ganora, was a EMT. And he said to me that the kids really don't have any reading material at the hospital. And I said, that's ridiculous. Since I worked at DC Comics, I had boxes of comics, and I had a bunch of child-friendly stuff. And I said, you know what? I'll be happy to donate all these books. He says, well, if you're going to donate them, you have to come in costume. And me being the, perfectionist and anal retentive, I said, I guess I'm going to have to build a Captain America suit and go all out. And I built a shield, and the costume was okay, because, again, at the time, there was nothing there. And I realized it wasn't good enough, and then I realized what it did to the kids. and I had to take it to the next level. So I was forced to kind of push it beyond what it was. And I'm glad for it because I've made some amazing friends. I've met some amazing people because of it. I'm actually friends now with the Simon family, the creators of Captain America. Jesse Simon, Jim Simon, who are the father and grandson of Joe Simon, respectively. And they're wonderful people, and I'm considered a friend of the family, which is one of the highest honors.
Nice, nice.
You know?
So you got the idea for the book around when you said 2018?
Yeah, late 2018. Mm-hmm.
When did you sit down and hammer that thing out?
Believe it or not, it actually took about a year to hammer out the book. Because remember, the skeleton, the visuals, the costumes were all built. It was a matter of just kind of filling in those human moments that make it a lot more readable. You know, for example, the scene with the minesweeper in the very beginning of the book, you know, we wanted him to have a backstory. We wanted to be like, if you remove someone from the story, you want to say, okay, what does he do? His name's Mark, and he was very proud that he found $8 in change for using his mine equipment. People think, well, that's pedestrian, but you know what? That's what humanizes each character and makes you care. And so when it came to the character of Amanda, her mother calls her Amandacita. You know, there are certain things that you do that I've picked up in time, and you know, you can kind of flesh out the realities these people live in, and you can believe it. And that's what I think makes you a good writer. And I hope I don't profess to be anything. I give a lot of credit to Thomas Casparo because he really brought it to the next level with me, and he's invaluable.
Do you see this as a series?
Yeah, this is actually something that you can't see on Amazon. This is actually book one. There are actually 6 books in total, each book getting denser. We wanted to not overwhelm people, especially since, and I'm going to sound a little harsh here, so you'll have to forgive me. In the years of the reboots, the remakes, and the sequels, I really got fed up, and I wanted something new. And I realized how hard it is for people to accept something new these days. It's kind of like Squid Game. It's a new concept. Even though you kind of knew what the ending was, you were intrigued to follow the journey because the journey was amazing. We want to do the same thing with this. So that's why we knew that on the first book, it's going to take some time for people to get used to it. So we were trying to make it a bit of an accessible item, which is one of the reasons why we're going to paperback by April 1st, and we're going to go to ebook by April 6th, I believe, because we want it to be out there. We want more people to read it, because once you read it and we get to the second book, which I'll give you the titles in a moment, but when you get to the second book, you are invested, and you know you're part of that overall journey. Excuse me. So the first book is called The Beginning of the End for a reason. It sets up everything for the next book, and the next book blows people's minds because all of the stuff you learned in the first book is applied in the second book. You know, I believe a story, if it's told correctly, should be a giant circle. Everything needs to circle back so people know where they're starting from, but it also forces you to pay attention. You know, and you tell me, because you started reading it, you know.
One of the things I thought is I'm a visual thinker. I have to see things. I envision them. And that's one of the things I love when I read a book is when a writer goes into it, if I can picture the scene, then it draws me into the book, then I'm in that world. And you really did that successfully in what I've read so far. You pictured it, you know where you're at because you use the descriptives in there to really show where you're going and where you're at, but you leave so much for the imagination to fill in the blanks. I love the fact that you have the artwork with some of the key characters because it makes it easier for you to envision them, but it leaves enough room that you can also picture yourself in there. You know, I think a lot of times, sometimes people are always picturing, oh, well, this is Captain America. This is a Captain America book. We're going to picture the guy from the movie. But that was part of the thing I loved about like Spider-Man and stuff like that was it could be me behind that mask. And I felt like I was one of the people just watching as things go by. I could be that Marine that was picking up the stuff. It just draws you in that way. So and it started with action. Oh, you can't even. It's one of those things where it's not like 7 years ago and it slowly builds up. You went right into the action, and I love that part about it.
And I appreciate that because here's a little cool piece of trivia. The angel that emerges in heaven is actually based on actress Sunita Henry. If you don't know the name, Sunita Henry is from The Fifth Element. She played the president's assistant. She was in Krypton. She was in Star Trek as the nurse that delivered James D. Kirk. She's been in numerous films. She just finished a show called The Chelsea Detective. And she also happens to be a dear friend of mine. So when we were getting people involved with this project, big actors were joining us. In fact, if I can name drop a little bit, Ricky Barsdale, who was in Black Panther as one of the tribesmen, he is actually based on a Future Angel is based on him. So a lot of the people who got involved were just so inspirational to kind of develop these characters further. So like you were saying about the visual aspect and how you visually see things, these characters come to life because I've had amazing actors that can kind of fill out the suits and the costumes that we put together.
Nice.
I'll show you a cool image here, which is an image from the book. And this is R.J. Million as Alan Shaw.
It's when he gets cut. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, actually, he doesn't. So you didn't read that right. But the idea is to have characters and put a name to the face, because he's another person that you underestimate. He has a Brooklyn accent. He comes in, what's this all about? I don't understand. And people think he's stupid, and he's not even close. In fact, he's so smart that he doesn't relate well to people because he comes across one way and people judge him on that. And we want to play upon that a lot, where people are constantly judging people by the way they look and not by what they are.
Sweet.
Every character here has a backstory, and if you get to know them, you'll take a look at yourself and you'll say, I'm perceived the wrong way. And, it's because of either A, how I look, or B, how I act, and it's fascinating stuff. We really want to go deep on character development.
So we're coming up on 22 minutes here. Anything you want to say to the people that are out there? And again, this is going to be recorded, so it'll keep playing on there, and people can like to tap onto it. Do you have a website? You have the website IamOmegaBook.com.
Mm-hmm. It's currently available on Amazon right now, but there's a link on the page. Honestly, I'm not one for speeches. I simply just want to say, those who are watching, thank you. It's a very tedious and scary thing to go about your dreams like this. To have people pay attention, I'm eternally grateful, because that's all I could ask, is that people, like my work and accept my work. And there are going to be some that don't, and that's okay. As long as you gave it a chance. And that's what it's all about. You give me a chance and it'll make me happy. I'll end this on sort of a comedic note, because I had watched an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they said, how did you make your career happen? And he said, you just follow your dreams and you do it, and that's it. I was like, even though he sounds ridiculous, it was one of those things where he just do it now, So that's what we did. And,
so you do impressions too, huh?
Well, don't get me started. And also my throat is still burned out from my last show, which is why I'm coughing so much. But in the book, we thank a lot of people. That's because this is not a one-man show. Even though I may have created it and started it, the only reason why it exists is because of so many talented people and so many true believers in what we're trying to do. And if people just see just a little bit of the concept as you have, they get invested, because it's all about everybody. It's about, you feel like life's pushing you down, it's in this book. You feel like things are getting too tough and you need an escape, it's in this book. If you want to deal with extreme emotions, which will be delved to, especially one of the reasons why people said the ending, or the beginning of the ending, as it were, is so intense, is because you can relate. So thank you. That's what I have to say.
You're welcome. Well, listen, I really am proud of you. Glad to know you and see that you're following your dreams. And no matter what you do, you pay attention to detail in what you do, and that shows. So we're looking forward for more from you, and then you got a supporter here with me, buddy. So
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, check out IamOmega.com. Go on Amazon, get the book, and you're not gonna regret getting that book and going through. And keep a look for Danny, because I think he's going to be doing a lot more stuff. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right. Take care.
Rest up a little bit.
no promises.